Hey people, it's Kelly of Print Print Slay. As you can see, I am here alone without my friend Morgan. Morgan had a medical emergency with a family member, so she is not able to join us today. So we lift her up in prayer as she is there with her, I believe her aunt, as she is there with her aunt and supporting her family member. So it is just me today. So one cookie in the Cookies and Christ episode. So today we are going over Exodus 15:22 to 24 to 18. Super long. Okay. So bear with me. Okay. I have my notes. Everything is here. My Bible is here. We are going to be okay. If you do not know, Cookies and Christ is a live Bible study that I do for Print Pray Slay inside of my Patreon group. So patrons are usually on here live or they watch the replay and then I release it to the public on my YouTube channel. Morgan is the other side of the Cookies and Christ where she usually is here with me. And today she was actually going to lead. So I honestly was not prepared to lead. However, I do have my notes. So we're going to rock with this. So if she has anything to add when we meet up next time, because she not only gives her synopsis of what she read as somebody leading for that day, she really has her notes. So what she studied and what she came upon, what she learned, what the Holy Spirit revealed to her and everything like that. So if she has anything to add, she'll add that maybe at the next time we meet up. So right now I'm going to go through 22 because I already did 15, a little bit of 15 in the beginning of the last episode. So I'm going to carry on with 15. Let me turn to 15. And then I'm going to go on to 24. Hey, Nina. Nina's here with me. Okay, so I'm not alone. Thank God. I mean, you're never alone, really, So I'm going to start off. I'm going to go through my notes. So we're folks have just finished celebrating, with a song and dance after crossing through the Red Sea. They left Egypt behind them and a life of slavery, and they did this for good. So they're, at this point in time, they are celebrating and they are happy. All right. So later on, like at this point in time in the book, as we're in 15:22, Moses is now leading these people into the desert of Shur. All right, now being a desert, the first thing you think of as a necessity is, water. But there's only bitter water around them available. So in true fashion, the people start to complain like they usually have done in the past. And they're demanding water from Moses, like asking him with like attitude, like, what are we going to drink? Like that's the tone that is coming across for me. So Moses cries out to God, asking him for help with the problem, and God shows him a piece of wood that he has to throw into the water and make the water good enough to drink. He listens, and of course it works. So in that same spot called Mara, we're going to call it Mara, God sets a decree to test the faithfulness of the people. He wants them to listen to him and do what is right, obey him, pretty much what God has been asking for this whole time since Genesis. And he promises to keep them away from disease and carry them through. So hold on a second. So the people are walking through the desert, and after 2 months, they're basically in the wilderness, okay? And they start to regret leaving Egypt again, okay? So this is not the first time they've done that. It's like being in a bad relationship or a bad job that isn't good for you, but it's what you're used to. So they know Egypt is not where they necessarily need to be, but it's what they're used to. It's their comfort level. And when that happens, even for us, it kind of clouds our faith and our trust in the process that God is trying to bring us through. And that's what happened to them. So this community, the community of Israel, are saying things like, if only the Lord had killed us in Egypt, we wouldn't be going through this. They want to go back. So they're moaning and groaning about they at least had food there. Yes, they were under harsh conditions. They were slaves, but at least they had food. And now in the wilderness, they don't. So God, of course, hears their cries, and he tells Moses about how he's going to rain down food from heaven, like literally from heaven for these people. And this will also be a part of a test to see if the people will follow God's instructions. They don't, unfortunately. So God, again, literally pours down a blessing. So there's quails that flew in, and then there's manna that fell from the sky. The Bible gives a really good illustration of what description to help you with the illustration in your mind of what manna is, because it's not anything I had heard of. So Moses tells the people the instructions that the Lord gives them for everybody to pretty much grab their fair share of the food, and it works out. However, the other part they don't listen to. And so what they were not supposed to do was keep the manna overnight, and some of them did, and so it turned into maggots and had a foul smell. It upsets more. How about say Morgan? It upsets Moses. um and so he sets out for God and him and God have this discussion about how people they don't follow instructions. So Moses then goes and teaches them like what God requires of them, and to help them with the food and prepare enough for so they can honor Sabbath, which the Sabbath day is like the Lord's gift. So the people of Israel, they ate the manna for 40 years. Okay. I don't know anything I would love for 40 years, chocolate, but it's not enough to sustain you. God provided what they needed and it sustained them. So they, however, found a way to complain some more. But it's about water again. So they're like, is God here with us or not? Um, so God instructs Moses to strike his staff against a rock, and water comes out, and they are supplied with water. At this time, when I'm reading, I really wondered if there was like a better way for these people to communicate their woes, because we all have them, but it's different when you say, "Oh God, I'm dealing with this. I need help," versus when you're gonna do something, when you're gonna move. Moses was going on, and it's like I really wanted to see them develop their own relationship with God, so they would turn more to praying versus the complaining that it's really the way it's reading to me in the Bible is they're complaining and crying out instead of really going to God with their problem. They really just go to Moses. In the notes of the study Bible, it states that complaining raises our stress levels and prayer quiets our thoughts and emotions, and it really prepares us to listen. So I would hope that everybody, at least the people here now, since this is not what was going on with these people, that us here, that we practice more prayer than than complaining and things of that nature. So that's really what I pulled from that section. Okay, so we go on and now we're in Exodus 17. And this is like a situation with, it's called Israel defeats uh Amalek. That's what we're gonna say. I'm trying, y'all, with the lingo. But these are warriors that were Esau's people. If you remember, Jacob had his brother named Esau. This is his grandson and them. So Moses instructs them to, instructs, Joshua instructs Joshua to get a group of men to create like this army to go battle these people. Hold on, what did Nina say? Nina, I can just show y'all what Nina said. All right, so Nina is saying when she was reading, it felt like they didn't want to put in any effort towards their own well-being. It did feel like that. Like did they do scouts to go try to find water or find food or anything like that? I'm not sure, but I've also not been in the stage of desperation. Like it is a different thing when you are in your house and you're hungry and you're like, at least there's a tree out there. If it came to it, I eat the cherry, because I have like what I have three. I have three cherry trees. I'm assuming I can eat the cherries on the cherry tree. That's the kind of hunger that I will be dealing with. Oh, I don't feel like going to the store, or I have to walk to the store, or I have to ask somebody. There was nothing. Like I've never been in a desert. My parents have gone to Egypt. It's vast, kind of like how the ocean is. So in their way of desperation, I'm going I'm going to give them a pass. They don't need a pass from me, but I'm going to have more understanding. Like, wow, but I really did want them to like you said, put some effort into their own well-being. So yeah, I was looking for them to stop praying, but they kept going to Moses. So again, after Moses kind of asks Joseph, is it Joseph? Joshua. Sorry, it's a lot of J's. After he asked Joshua to gather troops, um, you know, Joshua jumps in there and he does exactly what Moses says. I was like, yes, somebody is listening to Moses. And I know what you're probably thinking. What's going on with Moses? Moses is up on a hill. Okay. He is not actually in the Bible. I mean, in the battle, he is up on a hill doing his thing. And what his role in this situation is to raise his staff. And when he does that, he noticed that the people of Israel were winning. Like they doing their thing. They winning the battle. And then when his arms began to lower, he noticed that folks was out there losing. So naturally, he kept his arms raised. Now, with the staff in his hands and his arms raised, it becomes difficult for my man Moses. So thankfully, Aaron and a guy named Hur is there to assist him, and they end up winning the battle. So after this victory, Moses built this altar, and he names it Yahweh Nisi, which means the Lord is my banner. And so I did a little research on that. Like, I know what a banner is, but I wanted to make sure that it still stood for the same back then. And it was like a simple proclaiming, like declaration that God is their leader and that they trust him and they're following him. So I was like, that's really neat. And I really, really enjoyed, reading more about the symbol that they had. Not nothing that they were supposed to worship, just, a symbol. And later, Jethro visits Moses. So Jethro is Moses's father-in-law. Okay. So he shows up with Moses' sons and his wife, and he ends up having this profound conversation with Moses about how God has been working in their lives. So it really showed me, because afterwards Jethro like praises God, and it really was like, wow, when you share the good news that God has given to you, like all that he has done for you and around you with others, it really helps bring them to God, like your testimony. So I was like, wow, that was a nice, showing of how you can do the same thing. Nina is saying that was her favorite part. It showed me no matter what we need, that we need each other. Yes. Yes, they held him down. They helped him, and they needed him and he needed them. So I thought that was really neat also. Let's see. So after, their conversation during Jethro's stay, he notices that Moses is out here doing the most. Like, he helping people, he's solving disputes and all of that, and he's not able to do other work that he needs to do. So he offers him this solution of delegation. So he said, delegate a few men to help you out. And Moses takes him on this suggestion, and it really helps him with it. And I love that. Like, someone from the outside of his situation was able to come in and really see what was going on and offer him help. And he took it. Sometimes we're like, you haven't been here, like you don't know what's going on. And we might miss the blessing that we could have gotten from listening to somebody else. So I was like, oh, that's neat that his father-in-law, came in and really was able to survey the situation and teach him how to involve other people and teach people how to help themselves as well and delegate duties. I was like, I need to be doing some of that. Like, I highlighted that in the Bible. So later on, God speaks to Moses and calls him to climb the mountain to give instructions to the people. So this is Mount Sinai. God appears before the people, like he appears in like this thick cloud of smoke, like in the form of fire. And they are told to stay away, like in a boundary, because if they were to cross over that boundary, they would die. So Moses, he calls for Moses to get Aaron, and they're able to go closer, and he ends up giving Moses the 10 commandments. So that is in Exodus 20. That is the section that I have called the 10 commandments for the covenant community. So it goes through the 10 commandments, which I'm sure we've all heard. However, I would like to pause there and say, like, I reread them for myself again. Like, some of them really stick out, like the whole, no lying, no stealing, no killing, adultery, and things like that, idol. But one that really, and I knew this, but one that really had me a little deeper in my research was the third one. I think it's the third one. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4. So remember to observe the Sabbath day and keep it holy. And so there is a difference. The Sabbath is the seventh day, but in our calendar day, we usually have the seventh day as Saturday. So I was like, is Saturday supposed to be the Sabbath day or is Sunday supposed to be the Sabbath day? Because Sunday is when we typically, as Christians, go to church. So I'm researching. I researched to the point where I honestly got frustrated, you guys. Like I was like, what is going on? Like it's up in the air. Like it's a whole different group of people that hold the Sabbath on Saturday. And from the standpoint of my research for Christians, it's a Sunday type of thing. So I'm like, God, are you real specific on this? Like the seventh day? Like, or can it be any day that we are available? Like, I don't want to sit there and go against the Ten Commandments on the logistics of a day. And then not knowing really what should and should not be done on that day. So I put a sticky note in there and I had to say a prayer because I really want to learn more about it. But in the midst of studying for this, I haven't come up with a clear answer. So I'm asking God to provide me some clarity about the Sabbath, what I should and shouldn't do on that day, and what exact day it should be held. On top of trying to understand, especially if you're a new Christian, trying to understand what piece of the Bible is like, yes, this until Jesus came. Not to negate anything, but like some things were like, oh, this is by works, but then you don't have to do that anymore because of this. Oh, you can't eat this, but then God considered everything clean. It's like you have to do a lot of research, a lot of study, and you have to pray that the Holy Spirit reveals to you what you're supposed to learn in that moment. So I haven't gotten clarity on that. I would love to know what you all feel about that commandment. So that, maybe it can add to my understanding. So that was something that I was like, okay, we're going to have to table this. I'm going to put a sticky note in here and I'm going to continue that on later. But as we go on, after the 10 commandments are spoken, the people are hearing this in this loud thunder cloud type situation. So they're honestly shook. And it's in the presence of God, like they are in fear. And Moses tells them that they don't need to be afraid because our God is a God of love. There is a fear factor in there, but it's a fear and a means of trying to keep you from sin. It's a respect type of thing, not a God don't love you type of thing. It's a God does love you type of thing. So I thought that was interesting, and I highlighted that as well. And then there are hold on a second. Oh, let me say this before I go into what happens next. So God stressed this first commandment, which was you must not have any other gods but me. Because he knew who he was talking to. The people coming from Egypt, in Egypt, they had multiple gods. So he didn't want them to just, oh, surely I can worship you as a god because I just add you to the many other gods that I have. And it's like, well, no, like those are not gods. Those are idols. And you aren't supposed to have idols. So he wanted to make sure that they placed him ahead in worship. I haven't gone through with you all, but I can tell you that stuff does not end up the way that it should with that one commandment. But we will read further later. But that was something that he stressed it to them. But then it goes on and it's talking about the proper use of altars, fair treatment of slaves, what people should do in a case of disputes and injury and theft and protection of your property and all of that. It's really a lot of scenarios. Not every scenario. It's not every scenario, but from those scenarios, you are supposed to be able to grasp the just that God has, like how, like a what would God do type of thing, and really learn how to take care of yourself and those around you, and how everything is to be sought after and fair. So it's like there's an eye for an eye saying in here, but it's not for us to take into consideration for ourselves. Like you don't just go around, oh, they hit me, I'm gonna hit them type of thing. It's really for the judge and those who are in position. Like it actually says this and talking about like parents, teachers, those who are in authority to make that judgment call, take that into consideration. Not necessarily the person themselves. Like you don't get to have, your neighbor steal your lawnmower, so you go steal his wife. Like that's not what we doing. That's not what it's there for. Um, Hold on, let me see. Nina's saying something. Oh, why is it called the covenant of the community? The community is considered a community of those in Israel. So it was placed to them. So I'm assuming that's why the title. So that's the title in my particular Bible. So this section is called the birth of Israel. And then in Exodus 21 through 21, it's called 10 Commandments for the Covenant Community. So that is just what my Bible calls like that, this section of the Bible, between those verses. And then you're saying that I also have been looking at this because I love history. I understand that calendars were dated differently at one point in history. I am to look. When you find out, Nina, please let me know. Because I was really, I wasn't, I don't know, I don't want to say bothered. I was really concerned because I was like, oh my gosh, like I don't want to, I don't want to mess up. Like that's something that we now have like all this knowledge. We can connect with each other. We should be able to figure this one out. So I really am going to continue to look to see like what should we be doing, and then how far do you carry that? Like let's say it is on Sunday, and so on Sunday it's like okay, that is a time set aside for rest, rightfully so. And it's very ironic because I just finished talking to two friends on separate phone calls about how people are burnt out, them specifically, but I know it's not just them too. And I was saying that it's usually from the constant flow of living. Like you don't get that break. And I was like, I could tell you to take a vacation, but that's still not a break from like all of what's going on in your life, because everybody knows when you take a break from work, when you come back, it's going to be more work left for you. I said, but that is honestly the beauty that I feel is a blessing being a teacher, is that I have noticed that during a summer break, like that's it. Like when I had other jobs, the work is continuously flowing. There is no pause, woosah, take this moment. It's like, okay, that project kind of fed into that project and this, that, and third, and it's forever going. And you take your break, you come back, your work has piled up. Now you're trying to rush to get back to where you would have been if you didn't take a break, thus being more stressed out. Like people, my mom just came back from vacation and her and co-workers or friends more so were like on vacation thinking about how, oh, when I get back to the office, it's gonna be so much work. That's not really you getting that break. And I was saying to my friends, as a teacher, we really do get that. Like in the summer, there is no, oh, let me make sure I did this. It's like that was the last day of school. Like that's it. It's now something new coming. And you can prepare for that new thing, but it's like break. So that is definitely a perk that I'm feeling right now. But for all else, I would say that's what that Sabbath feel like is for. Like it seemed like you're supposed to do nothing. Like you already supposed to have your food cooked. You basically supposed to go to church and enjoy time with your family and relax and rest. Like it's like it seemed like you shouldn't be doing laundry, cleaning your house or anything. Like just relax. And so I was like, wow, like life really did pause during the pandemic. And for a lot of people, that was a moment in time that they were first able to be like I'll have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and do this and then go pick this person up and do this. It was like everybody's already in the house. Let me just take care of what's going on. So I can see definitely the plus of having a Sabbath, a true Sabbath day. I just got to learn more about it. I really do. And I want to. Um, let's see. Um, I can say that I did start feeling some kind of way in the fair treatment of slaves section, which is Exodus 21, um, 1 through 11. And I did highlight what my Bible said, which is the Bible acknowledges the existence of slavery. It doesn't encourage it or condone it, because it's hard to read, a slave should be doing this and a slave should do that. And it's like, well, why not just no slaves? So it was an understanding that I had to come to, that people became slaves for different reasons. Like if you owed money, you were a slave. And to be honest, that's true to today. Again, I'm a high school teacher and I teach financial literacy. And I definitely teach them that, like, when you are in debt to someone, you are a slave to that debt. So no, you're not like ball and chain type of slave, but like you can't further yourself and your well-being knowing that you have this on your shoulders. So you're supposed to get out of debt in order to have financial. That's why they call it financial freedom. So I did understand that. So when somebody is in debt or they fall into poverty or they have done some kind of crime, slavery was a way of them getting either punished for that situation or getting out of that situation. So I was like, okay, I can understand it a lot better. And hopefully that is something that someone else can get through as well. Nina saying, you are correct. That exactly what it means. Do nothing, rest in God, talk to God. That sounds wonderful. I watched somebody else's YouTube video where they were like, they spent 4 hours with God. Like it was like a challenge that they gave to themselves. It wasn't like this TikTok or Instagram type of thing to do. It's just something that she did because her husband went on a he went to spread God's word in another country. And so she was alone. And so she was like, I have a lot of time. I don't have, someone else to cook for, someone else to talk to, anybody to tend to, because it was just her and her husband and he's gone. So she was like, I'm going to spend more time with God. And I was like, that is awesome. So, an opportunity to spend 4 hours, and out of 24 hours to dedicate 4 hours doesn't seem like a lot, to be honest. And if we were all able to do that like once a week, I'm trying to tell you, society. So yeah, I definitely think like that Sabbath is where it's at. Let's see. So then it goes into the protection of property. Again, God saying, what should happen if this were to happen? Basically, like if someone were to kill somebody, if someone was to rob somebody, if your ox were to get loose and harm someone or eat someone else's crops, like how to solve those type of problems. And one that I highlighted that I thought was interesting, well, two that I thought was interesting, was you must not, this is Exodus 22:21. And it says, you must not mistreat or oppress foreigners in any way. Remember, you yourself were once foreigners in the land of Egypt. And my note was like, new Americans. Like, it really, really bothers me when people come from another country and I see people make fun of them trying to learn English. English is hard. People, English is like hard. Like, if I told you to say the word LIVE right now, half of y'all will say live, some of y'all will say live. READ. Some of y'all will say red, some of y'all will say read. And then you're like, red is RED, but then you got the A in there. It's hard. Okay, let's just sum it up to be hard. Like, spell the word one. Some of y'all are saying WON and some of y'all are saying ONE. It's hard. And so I have a great respect for people coming into our country, learning our customs and learning our language and trying to make it to this dream that we have shared with the rest of the world that we hold. And so I just took that and I just made the note of embrace and welcome and help new Americans, like people who are coming here trying to better themselves and add to our land, help them. Because I know if I were going anywhere else and they didn't cater to Americans, which a lot of people do, and speak English, I don't want that same courtesy. So I wrote that. And the other one was, and I'm laughing because, again, financial literacy is 22:25. And it says, if you lend money to anyone of my people who are in need, do not charge interest as a money lender would. And so when you go to lend money to, like, because I ask this in my course when I teach my seniors and my juniors, and I'm asking them, like, would you lend money to your friend? And some of them are like, no. And some people are like, I was like, well, would you pay them interest? And they're like, well, why would I need to pay my friend interest? And so trying to get them to understand, like, that is what the bank does. Like, that is what, happens with credit cards. Like, those are not your friends. However, you would hope that, your friends and your family are not trying to come up on you needing, to borrow money. Be thankful that you are the one that is lending in that situation. So I thought that was interesting. Then there's the take no bribes. Bribes pretty much cloud your judgment and twist the truth. And I wrote down anybody in leadership, politics, and officers, anybody in the law, specifically. But that goes for everybody. But I just was like, wow, maybe those top people definitely need to be aware of that. And then Exodus 23:10, plant your harvest, your crops for 6 years, and then give the land a chance to cultivate and renew itself in that seventh year. And that's when the poor can harvest and you leave the rest for wildlife to eat. And I was like, that is awesome. That would be amazing if, farmers were able to, or actually did do something like that. Like, we can probably solve hunger. Like, we have a hunger issue. And we also have an overconsumption issue. Like, we overconsume. Like, we killing plants and animals like no other, to satisfy the fact that we're out here doing mass consumption. So I think that, a lot of people are talking about like our food shortage and our recession and things like that. I'm like, God, sitting here with these answers. So then it goes into 3 festivals. Festival of to celebrate God and the harvest that they was talking about before, and the last time we spoke, celebration of harvest. And then we get to the last section that we were covering today, which is Exodus 23 and 24. And those sections are called A Promise of the Lord's Presence, and then Israel accepts the Lord's covenant. So God says that he's going to send an angel before them to protect them on a journey, to lead them to a safe place. And even though it's an angel, is usually considered like an angel of the Lord, like him in the form of. And it says, be careful to obey him and follow his instructions. And that, they're going to be able to take over these other lands, and that he's going to send terror ahead of them, so that it will make it, easier for them to take over the land. Because if they all leave, then, the animals will take over, and it will be hard for them to take over the land from the animals. So it's like a tactic going on there. They are not to make any treaties with the people. Don't follow them or their gods. Don't get trapped up in idolatry, which also I forgot to mention. They were in social responsibility, along with mistreating foreigners and lending money and taking bribes and stuff. It is said that you are not to practice any sorcery, have any sexual relations with animals, exploit widows or orphans. And I thought that was interesting as well. Because if you don't know, like, people are out here doing some of those things. And that is against what God has for us. Read 23:12 out loud. 23. Where am I at? 23:12. Okay, 20. Had to find it. 23:12. You have 6 days each week for your ordinary work, but on the seventh day you must stop work. This gives your ox and donkey a chance to rest. It allows your slaves and foreigners living among you to refresh. That is the Sabbath. Okay. So on that seventh day, no working. I believe, and I read somewhere else, like, you are able to go to church or worship, but like not even cook. Like, prepare for the Sabbath. Like, know it's coming. In 24, the Lord instructs Moses to bring Aaron and a few other people and elders to go and worship God away from others. Only Moses is allowed to come near the Lord. And Moses is to write down these instructions. He then took the book of the covenant and read it aloud to the people, and they respond, and they say that they're going to do everything that the Lord has commanded. They say that they will obey. He then took some blood and sprinkled it on the people. I know that's not our custom, but that is theirs. And gave them further instructions. And then the elders and Moses and Aaron were able to climb the mountain, and there they were able to see God. It was like, I want to read this because I was really like, oh my gosh. Okay, so under his feet there seemed to be a surface of brilliant blue lapis la, lazuli. I don't know what that is. Okay, but it's clear as the sky. Okay, and although they were able to like gaze upon God, God did not destroy them. Like he allowed them. Now it's not a like a face to face. Like I haven't. Was there one person? No, one person was able to see, I think, God from behind. And I don't know if that was Jacob or if that was Moses. But like a face to face like that, that's not something that, I have seen anyone or read of yet, that anybody was able to experience God like in the presence of him in that way. They were, able to like break bread with God. Like they would like taking in a covenant meal and eating and drinking in his presence. It sounds like a good time and like an honor to be a part of. And then God said to Moses, come up to me to the mountain. And he will give him some tablets and stones to inscribe the instructions, like the commandments on, so he can teach the people. And so Moses climbed up the mountain and the cloud covered it. And on the seventh day, the Lord called to Moses from inside the cloud. And the Israelites were still at the foot of the mountain. And he was up there for 40 days. Did I believe? Yeah, he disappeared into the cloud and he climbed higher up the mountain and he remained on the mountain for 40 days and 40 nights. Long, long time to spend like time with God. Just 40 days. And that's a long time. I wonder if one day, like being a teacher, since I have that time, if I'm able to like go on like a retreat and spend like that much time with God. Like this is, of course, like let's say my children are like grown, which is going to take me some time because my youngest is 9. But spend some time with God in that way. Like that would be awesome. But I wrote down some other things because when I heard 40 days, 40 nights, it rang bells. So I was like, okay, so Jesus fasted for 40 days. Lent is 40 days, which is the time between like the resurrection and the ascension into heaven for Jesus. And then Noah and the flood, that whole thing was 40 days and 40 nights as well. So I was like, that's interesting, like the whole 40 days things. And I'm sure there's other occurrences. I got a lot to read. But from what I have experienced so far in the Bible, 40 is a number. That's something worth researching and looking up. But that is where it ends, I believe. Let me just look through my notes to make sure that I covered everything. Because I write little things on the side. Why does it say I am enough and I have enough? Okay, that's talking about their fear. Oh, I don't know if I told you this, but in my research, the Pope changed the Sabbath to a Sunday. And then I read that it was Constantine specifically, and that if we were to, like how days and things are longer and changing, that the Sabbath is actually considered the nightfall of Friday all the way through the night of Saturday. So I wanted to pass that note along. Exodus 18:16. Whenever we help others settle disputes or resolve conflicts, we should also look for opportunities to teach about God. And I say I do that with my kids. Like yesterday, my girls were arguing, and I was like, why can't y'all talk to each other in love? And then I explained, like, you get a better result from people. They can see your heart in the conversation. It's not like you're out for yourself. So I was saying, like, basically from that, and that's a note. That's not what the Bible says. That's just a note from 1816. That's not what 1816 says. but it was about when Moses was trying to figure out how to deal with the cases between the people and solve their disputes. We should teach about God while we're trying to help people solve their problems. Um, I said, I can imagine how nice and exciting it was to share um, the journey that God had brought Moses through when he was talking to his father-in-law. Like, I'd have been so excited to see him and my family and to share all that good news that was going on. Oh, and another note, I said sometimes you have to move without family. Noticing that Moses didn't have like all of this that he's going through. He didn't have his wife and his kids there with him, which makes it harder, but allows you to focus. And I remember faintly reading that that's why Paul says in the New Testament that all Christians don't need to be married. And I can try to also probably add have children. It kind of takes your focus away from your faith for some people. And so if you know that that's going to be your situation and you are going to not worship your kids or they could become idols or anything like that, but if they're going to take, now I understand there's a period in time where your child needs you. But if you become all consumed with being a parent or being a spouse or a wife or a husband or a mother or father, then you may have to rethink having that title. If the baby's already here, then they're here. But think about that for all of you who do not have that responsibility, how much time you have now to possibly spend with God. I said that. I said that. I think I said on my notes. Oh, what is this? Oh, okay. So in Exodus 16:23, my study Bible has a note about what's going on with the Sabbath, and they're saying to basically carefully guard your time with God. And so I write out like ways that I guard my time. So I have my sticky note. My patrons know of these sticky notes. I have to put these sticky notes in the shop, but I have sticky notes that I came out with, and I cut the bottom of it so that it will fit. And I basically wrote on the front and the back ways I guard my time. So I study sometimes when my family is asleep, which requires me to wake up early or stay up late. I make sure I journal my prayers. I like to reflect on them and have like a say, I know my little journal is here. Have my journal with me. This is my new prayer journal. It is actually a Bible, but I'm using it as a prayer journal because it has blank pages in it that I'm able to write my prayers on. So making sure that I journal my prayers. Um, I don't listen to music in my car often. Well, my truck, I put truck here. That is my time to speak to God and pray. And that's my alone time. Like when I get home, it's stuff going on. I know you don't hear kids now, but they're upstairs. So having no music intentionally in my truck while I drive gives me a time to pray and talk to God. Making it to church, scheduling my study time and my worship time, worship music while I clean and cook. To me, worshiping and singing song of praise is time with God. Turning off notifications, that cell phone, turn it off. Letting my family know and my friends. So when you let other people know, just like when you let them know about sharing the good news, you're showing them, what God has done in your life. Letting them know that your time, your prayer time, and your worship time, your study time with God is important. They start to respect it as well. And they themselves might come on along with you in that journey. Maybe not studying with you, but see like, oh, wow, my mom sets aside time to do this. I can do it too. Um, I said, setting the tone that I take this serious. Like, it's not like, oh, I was studying the Bible, but girl, if you're trying to go get some crabs, that shouldn't be a thing. It'd be like, hey, this is my time. Like, this is what I'm doing at this time. Not available. Can we push it to this time? Because from 7 to 8, I'm doing this. Being prepared. Like I have a whole thing. Like I have to have my highlighters, I have my post-its, I have my pens, all of that. That's me being prepared. And then preparing your mind. Like for me, I said brain dump. Sometimes I have to do a brain dump before I go to study the Bible, or before I do my prayers and stuff like that, just to get it out. Because if it's out, then I don't have to keep thinking about it and it's taking my mind away from what I'm doing. And honestly, I listen to lo-fi music. There's a channel on YouTube called Lo-Fi Girl. I listen to it when I study. I listen to it in my class. Like my scholars are now used to it. They already know, like, oh, Miss Gasson, you can put on your lo-fi? Yes. And it's just music. It doesn't have any words, no lyrics. It's not a familiar beat where you are thinking about the lyrics, because some people say, oh, I'm gonna listen to worship music. And it's like, yes, but at this time it's supposed to be studying. And here you are singing the lyrics to Tye Tribbett. I know, because I've done it before. So I was like, man, I gotta listen to something else. And then there are also like, if you can listen to the instrumental of like Maverick City, or the people who sing Oceans. Oh my goodness, I forget. But if you can listen to somebody who has like a melody type of music, it could be rock and roll for all it is. But if it gets you to a point of you can just focus, then okay. So that was my list, and so I keep it in here. I wanted to like get it out and write it down by my notes. So again, that is for Exodus 16:23, and I believe that is all. No. I have I love this for Exodus 16:2-3. And it's saying it happened again. As the Israelites encountered danger, shortages, and inconvenience, they complained bitterly and longed for to go back to Egypt. But as always, God provided for their needs. Difficult circumstances often lead to stress and complaining, and it's a natural response. The Israelites didn't really want to go back to Egypt, like I told you before. They just wanted to have a little bit of an ease in their life. So in the pressure of the moment, they could not focus on the cause of their stress, which was honestly their lack of trust in God. They could only think about the quickest way to escape their situation. And instead of doing that, we need to focus on God's power and his wisdom and help us deal with the causes that we have for stress. It is so ironic. I just finished sitting in my garage talking to my friend for 42 minutes this morning about the cause of her stress, and trying to figure that out. So I love this. I dashed it, I highlighted it, and then wrote in big bold, love this. All right. Nina, you are saying yes. So 40 days, 40 nights. That was the um the flood. That was in Genesis. Noah and everybody. And then she is saying people who study Judaism celebrate the Sabbath and the fashion from Friday at sundown to Saturday at sundown. Yes. So it did say, well, when I was reading it, it said Jewish people was like Saturday, that's their thing. But I believe Seventh Day Adventists as well, Saturday is their thing. So it's different pockets and groups of people that consider Saturday that day. And then anybody following the Roman Catholic situation would consider it Sunday, which that is a form of Catholicism, like that is a form of Christianity. Um, and they switched it. So some people like really consider that evil, and they're changing what God wants to do. Like it's a thing, people. Like I think it is definitely worth you researching on your own. If I could provide you with the short answer, then okay. But considering that like it's a commandment, it's not like oh, don't eat crabs, they're unclean. And then later on, oh, God made all things clean that you can consume. Um, I haven't seen a revision of the Ten Commandments, and I don't want to sit there and be like, this the one that you can forego. Like I don't want to do that. I don't want to skip over it. I'm not saying that anybody in my past has done that, but I definitely have never honestly taken it as serious as the other ones, like in consideration as the other ones. Never have I been like murder Sabbath, but they're within the 10 together. And I don't know if there's a hierarchy like, oh, if you don't do this one, you're good, you're okay. I mean, in essence, your faith and your belief and knowing that Christ died on the cross for you is what helps you. But you want to live the best life that you have here. Your goal as a Christian is not just to gain entry into heaven. It is to help others as well and provide a heaven on earth type of feeling for yourself. So you don't do things just so you can get the angel points, as people say, or to gain entry through the gate. Is really to help others and to help yourself. And if God placed that as a commandment, it's like it must be that serious. Like maybe your stress level is where it is. Maybe you can't even be the Christian that God has you to be because you haven't had that day of rest. Like, have you ever not gotten enough sleep? Cranky is she. So I can assume if you haven't gotten that rest from like the work week or everything, and that's everybody taking a break. So collectively, if that was to happen, I really think there will be a change. What that change would be, I don't know, but we may see like kinder people. The work culture has shifted a little bit because of COVID, but I can honestly say it feels like it's going back. Okay, so there was like this importance placed on break and family life and things like that, and having time. And now we like, man, we got to meet these numbers. Like it's a recession. People got to come back to work and blah blah blah. So it's yeah, it's getting crazy. Um, Another note is yes, they are on equal footing, much like a sin is a sin. No sin is larger. Okay, yes. Somebody asked me that before. Um, he was like, so I said every sin is equal, and he was like, are you serious? This was we was at work. Me being a little young baby Christian. I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure, you know. And he was like, how you gonna tell me that stealing a Snicker bar is the same as me murdering somebody? And the way I explained it to him was the best way that I could equate it was one, God said we said, but also you don't know what happens after you do something wrong. So you may be thinking, oh yeah, it was just adultery, but you broke up a whole family. You may have caused like forever damage in the children that's involved in that marriage. Um, you stealing that. Let's just take it for what he was talking about, stealing the Snicker bar. I said, so you killing somebody, you ended their life. I said, but stealing a Snicker bar, maybe that person that was at the counter got blamed for that, and then they lost their job, which caused them to commit some kind of crime, which put them in a position to be in a jail or to harm somebody in the process, which may have affected their family members, and eventually someone does die because of that. You know, it was a Snicker bar, but it turned into this grand scheme of hurt. And that may sound far fetched to people, but it does happen like that. What happened? One girl was something happened to her. Oh, there was these kids were playing on I think Fortnite or something, and they had bet $1.50 that they would win, and one guy lost, so his team didn't get the $1.50. So the teammate was mad, not really because of the money, but because of the thrill of winning, like the clout. So he hired a guy to do, I forget what it's called, but basically you are fake swatting somebody. It's like game swat or something like that. Basically calling in a false claim to get a SWAT team to show up at this person's house. So the boy was like, I'm going to SWAT you because you caused us to lose this $1.50 and now we not the top team or whatever. He was like, all right, bring it on. My address is blah, blah, blah. The guy really said, hey, there's a person here. I'm in the house with my uncle, and my dad is doing this and he's trying to kill us. I think you need to send the SWAT team, blah, 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 and name the guy's address that he gave. The SWAT team showed up to that address and killed the man. It was the wrong address. He gave the wrong address on purpose. And then they continued to ignore the fact that somebody lost their life for no reason, and went back and forth with each other about how you didn't get me because I gave you the wrong address. And he was like, yeah, you a punk because you gave me the wrong address. Like, not even like acknowledging like somebody lost their life. And so there was a girl there. That was her uncle who got shot. She had to walk over her uncle because at this time, the police are thinking somebody is still in the house trying to kill somebody. We don't know who it is. Everybody is, a suspect. And so the young girl ended up seeing her uncle laid out bleeding, ends up dying. So she ends up committing suicide. Her boyfriend is the one that found her. He ended up committing suicide. And it's like, wow, like you were just playing a video game for $1.50, end up pranking or calling in a false claim. They sent the people to the wrong house. The police officer ends up killing somebody. those in the household witness it, and one of the young members of that family ends up killing themselves, and then her friend who finds her ends up killing themselves as well. It's just a mess. So, well, I don't know if the boy ends up killing himself, but it still messed him up to see such a thing. No, 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 no. It does. I think he does. He does end up killing himself. I believe it is. He did, which is very sad. So yes, all sin are equal. I said a long explanation about how all sin are equal because we can't fathom the explanation of what happens. Oh, the battery is running low. All right, there we go. Oh, you read an article that was like that. Yeah. Oh, an article of a police officer being charged with wrongful death and murder. Yeah. And that's what happened in that case. Yes, the teenagers were wrong for giving the wrong address, but the police officer was also wrong for shooting without really having a reason to shoot because the man opened the door and he shot him. It wasn't a need for that. Um, so yeah, it's very sad. So we must watch our actions and count everything that God says to heart until we find out, exactly what it means. Like take the time. We take the time to learn lyrics to a song. We just sit there and search the whole house for a remote. So if that is the situation, you can spend some time researching. We are in a day and age where we have so much knowledge um, available to us, which can be a harmful thing. But in this situation, I believe it's helpful. Like you don't have to take somebody else's word for it. You can go and read. And then honestly, when you pray and see what God puts on your heart, that might be for you and your family. If you then decide Sunday is going to be the day because that's what's convenient and this is what you pray with God about, and that is what is placed on your heart, who is anybody else to tell you any different if that is what you truly received from God? So I'm going to be in prayer about the Sabbath day. I'm going to have a conversation with my husband and we're going to have to research that because I don't like, you would think that that was the easiest one to uphold on the list. Like, okay, so, and it's the one that isn't to, I'm not going to say to harm you, but it was there for you in love. Like God placed that there on purpose. So let's see. Nina said, yes, it's the same case. Okay. Okay. Wow. Well, thank you for confirming that, Nina. All right. Nina, do you have any other questions about this particular one? If anybody else who's watching a replay has any questions, they could put it in the comments section below. But we are nearing the 7:58 mark, which is the 8 o'clock mark of ending this episode of Cookies and Christ. And I did well. I miss Morgan though. But Nina, thank you so much for being here. And there's other people that didn't hear, but I don't see them responding. So, all right, Nina, I don't see another message from you. Again, if you have anything, you can just, message it below. Let me go in and say what the next section is. Section 2, which for us is on page 175. If you're using the chronological Bible that Morgan and I have, it is 175, section 2. Which is the tabernacle instructions, which is Exodus 25. To 83. Exodus 25 to 31, 12 through 18. So Exodus 25, 1 to 31, 18. And in true fashion, I'm going to struggle to put that on the board to make sure I have it there. Because sometimes we just look back and see what it was. I'm going to put 25 through 31, 18. Yeah. Let me see. Please be there. It worked. So there we go. All right, people. It's 8 o'clock. And I made it. Like, we ended on time. We didn't go over. All right. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you all gained something from this study. This is something that my patrons and I do once a month on the first Wednesday of the month. Morgan and I and the patrons get on live on YouTube. And then again, the replay is available for other people. I hope you all had a good time. Thank you so much for tuning in.